So as you'll no doubt know, if you're a follower of this channel, in 2 days' time we will be getting our brand new Christmas special for Doctor Who, Joy to the World. And in spite of the fact that I actually think the episode looks pretty good and pretty fun, I just can't get hyped for it in the same way as I have in previous years. And for whatever reason, I can't figure out why that is. And I put out a tweet echoing this sentiment, and a lot of you seemed to agree with me. So I wanted to delve into why I think I might not be as hyped this year, as well as ask you guys what you guys do when your Doctor Who hype is at a bit of a lull period. Because that's where I feel like I'm at the moment. And it's why you haven't seen as much coverage for Joy to the World as you might have done some previous specials that have come out. But before we get into all that, I want to give you guys a massive thank you for 25,000 subscribers. We hit my goal for Christmas. This was my goal to hit. And you guys were Santa Claus for me. This is one thing I've been trying to hit for a while, and you did it. And I cannot thank you enough. I've now been doing this since 2018, so about 6 years, and I've enjoyed the journey of it so much, and I'll be continuing to do it for a very long time yet. And there's so many exciting things I can't wait to share with you in 2025 that have been going on behind the scenes. So I just want to say thank you at the end of the year, near Christmas, to all of you who watch all these videos and come up to me at conventions and say hello. It means the absolute world. This channel is such a big part of my life and something I appreciate so much. I genuinely can't imagine life without it. But if you still want to subscribe and haven't already, feel free to. The road to 30,000 subscribers starts now. And with that, let's talk about my hype. So I want to lay some ground rules with this and say I don't think the reason for my hype is necessarily due solely to the quality of the show itself. As you all know, I quite enjoyed Season 1. In fact, I enjoyed it much more than the last few series, so it's definitely not a case of really hating Doctor Who in its current state. And as I said, I actually think Joy to the World does genuinely look fun. The only thing I will say with regards to Doctor Who itself is that I do think the finale of Empire of Death, letting me down in the way that it did kind of hurt my enthusiasm for Doctor Who going forward, at least in the short term, so maybe that's a part of it. But beyond that, I don't really think it's because, I think the special's going to be terrible or anything like that. But what else could it really be? Well, I think for a start, one of the reasons might be that we've known about this special for ages at this point. The Comic-Con trailer was in July, and even before then, at the end of Season 1, there was previews of it in Doctor Who Unleashed back in May. So I think having known about this special for so long, it feels like we've exhausted all possible talking points and theories and discussion points for this special. I was going to do a final predictions video for this special before it came out on Christmas Eve, but to be honest, I've got nothing left to predict. I feel like I've said most of the things that I think are going to happen in this episode, and I think most other places have as well. So I think the fact that we've known about this episode for so long, and the fact that it is just one episode, so there's only so much to talk about, does contribute. I think there's also the aspect of this era doesn't feel as fresh as it did a year ago. Obviously, this time last year, we were coming off the back of 360th episode, which I really liked, and then we had a Christmas special with a brand new Doctor, which felt exciting and fresh and new. This time around, we're in the bed-in period. We're on the second Christmas special of this Doctor, going into a second series. And to be honest, speaking of that second series, I'm probably more excited for the Season 2 preview at the end of Joy to the World than I am Joy to the World, the actual episode. And I think that maybe speaks volumes about the fact that, while I'm sure this episode will be fun, I just don't have much more to say on it until we see it. I think another aspect to this might be just how stacked that the lineup is for Christmas TV this year, particularly on the BBC. I'm kind of more excited for things like Gavin and Stacey, Wallace and Gromit, Outnumbered. There's other shows that are calling my attention away from Doctor Who at the moment. And that's good. It's healthy to have more than one interest. And it's good to have shows that I'm excited for beyond just Doctor Who. But I guess that the converse of that is that it's making Doctor Who feel a little bit less special as a result in the Christmas lineup. It feels like just another cog in the big Christmas television machine. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't for a second say that I don't want Doctor Who on Christmas. I absolutely do. I've said before that it's one of the things I missed in the Chibnall era, and I'm very much glad that it's back in its spot. And as I said, it'll probably hit me when I'm actually watching it on Christmas Day. But I think the fact that the lineup is so stacked this year probably isn't helping this kind of sense of, oh yeah, and Doctor Who's there as well. Do you know what I mean? I think another aspect of it, and this was kind of an interesting one for me to admit, but I reckon part of it is just that, like, I'm getting older now, you know? Like, end of the day, I started this channel when I was 15 years old. I'm now 21. And that's not particularly old. And I bet a lot of the older people in my comment section are going to go, psh, that's not old. You've got your entire life ahead of you. And I do, you know, I hope. Unless something tragic and unforeseen happens. But a lot can change in those 6 or so years. I still love doing this channel. I still love collecting all the Doctor Who stuff where I can. But I guess it's not like how it was when I was a kid, where I was literally counting down the days to the next Doctor Who episode. And maybe that is just part of growing up, you know? Your mind's on other things. Your mind's on life, family, relationships, friendships, all that sort of stuff. Maybe that's where my head's at. This isn't the first time I've kind of suffered a lack of hype over Doctor Who. There were points in the Chibnall era where I definitely felt that. But I guess the difference there was that there was so much dead air that we could kind of create our own fun with the theories and leaks and stuff. Whereas with, like, Joy to the World, I feel like we already know enough to where there isn't really much to speculate on. Like, maybe the ending will have Jesus in it. But beyond that, I've got nothing else to really say. And there was another point when I was younger, in sort of Series 9, where I was kind of going through my phase where, like, Doctor Who wasn't really clicking for me. And to this day, Series 9 is probably my least favourite of the non-Chibnall era series. Sorry to everyone who loves Series 9. It just never quite clicked with me. And I'm not really sure why that is. So what I'm trying to say is there have been periods where Doctor Who has felt like less of a priority in my head as it has in previous years. And I guess my question to you guys is, has this happened to you? And when it does, what do you guys do? Sometimes I watch some older episodes, which help me out of it. Maybe I should do that before watching Joy to the World to get me in the right sort of frame of mind and the right mood. But when I compare my hype for something like Doctor Who this year to something like the Superman trailer that aired a couple of days before now, and I did a reaction to it on the second channel, I've been talking my friends' ears off about that for days. You know, I've been so excited for that film. And that's normally what I'm like about Doctor Who around this time. But instead I'm kind of like, oh yeah, you know, Doctor Who's on too. I'll watch that. And that's it. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not because I think Joy to the World will be bad or that the show is collapsing in quality. As I said, I actually think Season 1 is broadly better than the last few years of Doctor Who. The only other thing I can think of is because of the fact it's a Stephen Moffat Christmas special in a Russell T Davies era, and if you'd have told me that a couple of years ago, I'd have been ecstatic. But maybe now the novelty of seeing those two back has kind of worn off a little bit, and I kind of feel like I know what to expect going in, more so than I have in previous years. Maybe another aspect to this is also the kind of uncertain status of Doctor Who's future when Series 3 is concerned. I know I've made a lot of videos talking about Season 3 and whether Disney will renew it or not, and many of you probably thought, God, he's milking this a bit. But it's genuinely because the idea of Season 3, you know, not being renewed and kind of this uncertain period does make it a little bit less enjoyable for me, I don't know. I think it's because with this new RTD2 era, you know, there was this talk of Doctor Who every year, and, you know, everyone was sort of saying, oh, the Empire's coming back, the first Russell T Davies Empire, where we're going to have spin-offs and merchandise and stuff like that is going to come back. Maybe that was a little bit naive of me and naive of the people who said it, and I include myself in that probably more than many. I made a video years ago talking about how Doctor Who could be heading for another golden era before we'd even seen any of the show. And maybe I was a little bit too hyped because I didn't get on with the previous stuff. And maybe now my kind of expectations, my heightened expectations for what this era would bring for the programme have clashed with reality in a way that I'm now reconciling with. This is becoming a lot more like a therapy session than I thought it was going to, but I hope you've enjoyed it nonetheless. Again, to reiterate, this is not a video of me going, Doctor Who sucks now, died with Capaldi. I don't believe that, personally. I think that, you know, the Chibnall era is probably my least favourite era, but ultimately it's still Doctor Who, and this new era, for me, has broadly been an improvement, and I do like Gatwa as the Doctor, but I just can't generate that, yay, Doctor Who's on kind of energy that I could in the past. And I don't really know why that is, and I don't really know what the point of this video was, other than to talk about that and to say, what do you guys think? Are you guys in the same boat as me? Are you just as hyped as ever? Are you more hyped for maybe something like the War Games in Colour this evening, which I will also be talking about later today? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments below. Let's talk about it. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. We'll see if we can get to 30,000 subscribers. Who knows? And I will see you later.